Hello and welcome to Rahja's Raids. In this tutorial, I will be showing you how I defeated General Nazgrim with Edge of Zangarmarsh. The full video of Edge defeating General Nazgrim will follow at the end of this tutorial. The 8th boss in Siege of Orgrimmar is a warrior named General Nazgrim. This is a repetitive 3-phase fight. For this fight, we used 2 tanks, 6 DPS, and 2 healers. General Nazgrim has 3 different stances he uses throughout the fight. They are Battle Stance, Berserker Stance, and Defensive Stance. He gains more or less rage based off of the stance he is in, when the tank taunts off each other, and whether people are hit by specific abilities or not. His rage will determine what abilities he is able to use. General Nazgrim will always start in Battle Stance. This stance causes him to gain 1 rage every second. The second stance he will go into is called Berserker Stance, which increases his damage done and taken by 25%. He doesn't generate rage per second during this stance, but if hit by any abilities, his rage gain is doubled. The third stance he goes into is called Defensive Stance. His damage taken in this phase is reduced by 10%. It also causes him to gain 3 rage every time he is attacked other than by the tanks. You should stop DPSing him at this point and focus solely on adds. Nazgrim has 2 abilities that he will use throughout the fight that don't cost any rage. Sundering Blow is a heavy attack on his current target. It applies a stacking debuff that reduces that tank's armor by 10% per stack. Nazgrim gains 5 rage every time he casts this on his target, and 5 more rage per stack of the debuff currently on the tank. We had our tanks swap at 5 stacks. Bone Cracker is his other non-rage ability. Nazgrim casts this on random raid members, applying a bleed that causes them to take constant moderate damage and reducing their maximum health by 10% until it falls off. Nazgrim has 3 abilities he uses with rage. He uses his rage every 15 seconds, and he will always use whatever is the highest costing ability that he is able to use at the time. If Nazgrim reaches 30 rage, he will leap at a random raid member location and deal damage to them and anyone within 10 yards of that player. After landing, fiery lines will appear on the ground called aftershocks. After a few seconds, these lines will erupt, causing high damage and generate 3 rage for any player standing in them. Stay spread out and move quickly to avoid these. If Nazgrim reaches 50 rage, he will summon a Korkron banner. The banner has very low health, but must be killed immediately, as it will cause the adds attack in the fight to generate 3 rage per attack. Reaching 70 rage, Nazgrim will use Warsong, a heavy damage raid-wide AoE that takes 50% of the player's health. Damage reduction cooldowns will be necessary for anyone who has Bone Cracker on them if Warsong occurs. If Nazgrim reaches 100 rage, he will summon a spinning axe that moves back and forth across the room. It cannot be attacked and will last for the remainder of the fight. If hit by this axe, you will take a large amount of damage, and Nazgrim will gain 5 rage for every player that it hit. Your priority for this fight is to never allow him to reach 100 rage, as the axe will more than likely cause a wipe. Throughout the fight, 2 adds will be summoned from the back of the room every 45 seconds or so. There are 4 different types of adds. Korkron Iron Blades cast Iron Storm, which causes them to spin for 1 minute and deal large damage to anyone in 6 yards of him. You can stun the Iron Blade to interrupt this ability. You can also root or freeze him in place to hold him out of the way until you are finished killing other adds, as this add is probably the least troublesome. When Iron Blades reach 50% health, they can cast Last Stand, increasing their maximum health by 25% and gaining 25% health. Kor'kron assassins stealth into the fight. They cast Assassin's Mark, fixating on a random raid member that is not a tank, then try to backstab this player until they die. They can only use backstab if they are behind their target, so you should CC the assassins in order for the player to move away from them quickly, then burn them down. Kor'kron Arcweavers cast Arcane Shock, which can and should be interrupted as often as possible. It deals a large amount of damage to a random raid member, and each time it is cast, the Arcweaver gains a stacking buff that increases their arcane damage by 25% for 10 seconds. If this buff gets too high, the Arcweavers will start one-shotting people. Kor'kron War Shamans only cast healing spells, and these must be kept away from General Nazgrim at all costs. They take priority over every other add type. War Shamans cast Earth Shield on any ally that puts a heal on the target for 5% of their maximum health when they take damage. You can dispel this off, and especially should if it's applied to Nazgrim. They use Empowered Chain Heal, which can and must be interrupted. The heal increases for each target that it heals. War Shamans also summon Healing Tide totems next to where they are standing, and this is the main reason why you do not want a shaman to get near Nazgrim. The totems have very little health and need to be burned down immediately, as they will heal any adds within 8 yards of them for 30% health every 3 seconds. This fight requires intense focus and awareness of what adds are up, what abilities are being used, how much rage Nazgrim has, and what stance he is in. That completes this tutorial. The full video will begin shortly. Thank you for watching, and happy healing!
So scandalous. You know you wanna sing with us. That's why you know you should be scared of us. That's my looks to kill. Straight talk, sex appeal. One touch gives me chills, and we ain't even close yet. Rough neck all around, ain't been all over town. Show me how you get down, 'cause we ain't even close yet. And you got me feeling weak. Listen as I speak, 'cause I'm careful as I creep. You got me going crazy, and you know I can't sleep. Love watching your moves, and you hypnotize me. You got me trembling like a little baby girl. You're so special, you're like diamonds and pearls. You got me spinning, and you got me in a twirl. You're my number one baby, and you're down to rock my world. You're dangerous, just get it up. The way you move, so scandalous. It's all about the two of us. A one night stand just ain't enough. I need some stimulation, baby. A little conversation, maybe. You got me spinning round like crazy. There goes my baby. Scandalous, so scandalous. Scandalous, so scandalous. What? Hot stuff, head to toe. Where you go, no one knows. You smile, plenty dough, and we ain't even close yet. Solid as a rock. How many ways can you hit the spot? Show me what you got, 'cause we ain't even close yet. And you got me feeling weak. Listen as I speak, 'cause I'm careful as I creep. You got me going crazy, and you know I can't sleep. Love watching your moves, and you hypnotize me. You got me trembling like a little baby girl. You're so special, you're like diamonds and pearls. You got got me spinning and you got me in a twirl. You're my number one baby and you come to rock my world. You're dangerous, just get it up. The way you move, so scandalous. It's all about the two of us. A one night stand just ain't enough. I need some stimulation, baby. A little conversation, baby. You got me spinning round like crazy. There goes my baby. Scandalous, so scandalous. Scandalous, a little conversation goes a long, long way. Show a little patience that you are here to stay. So show me that your game. You're dangerous, just get it up. The way you move, so scandalous. It's all about